Emily, I'm so excited to have you here. I want my audience who is full of women in midlife. They're exhausted from chasing symptoms and chasing diets. They're smart and they're busy and they're tired of feeling like their body and their brain are not working with them. It's working against them. You have lived through bipolar disorder, depression, multiple sclerosis, deep food struggles, and a body that felt completely out of control. Then you made a radical shift and you moved into a meat focused carnivore style way of eating, and your symptoms began to change. Your life began to stabilize. And now you help other people find that same kind of inner clarity and peace in their own bodies. Today, you are the creator of Inner Clarity System, coaching people through simple food, nervous system work, and breaking patterns with sugar and processed foods so they can feel like themselves again. For everyone listening, this is Emily's story and her experience with clients. This is not medical advice of any kind, and always work with your own medical team. Emily, welcome to the show. I'm so excited for you to be here. Would you please just tell us a little bit more about yourself before we jump into the questions?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Christina. It was so great to just get swarmed with hugs from you at Hack Your Health. And we were just like immediately connected. It was so great to meet you in person. And then you told me you had a podcast and you're like, we want to come on. And I was like, yeah, of course. So first, I want to tell people that I am 46. I'm going to be 47 February. So it's coming up. And I made this huge change in my life when I was 40. So the reason that is important is because I was going to the doctors with all of these random mystery symptoms. And in my mid 30s, I was talking to the doctor and I'm like, this is hurting and that's hurting. And I'm overheated all the time and he said, "You're just getting old." And so I want to say that because I want women to know that it's very important to recognize whenever you are being gaslit by the allopathic care and that it is okay for you to take the reins and take the responsibility for your own health. And that's exactly what I did. Actually, it was as random as could be. I was deep in the depths of mental illness. And then I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and I couldn't walk without an assistive device. So I was either going to the psych ward, I was going to the nursing home, or I was going to take my own life because the darkness had just absolutely swallowed me whole. And then my brother, my little brother, he's 3 years younger than me, but he's 6 foot like 3. He sent me the book, the first chapter by Amber O'Hearn, and she had resolved bipolar disorder 10 years prior to that.
Wow.
And so, number one, that was a pretty good track record to resolve bipolar disorder because we're told you're going to be on medication the rest of your life. Like,
Yeah.
you check the box, you're crazy, and you're going to be on medication the rest of your life. And so for her to have resolved it and been off of medication for that long, my ears perked up. And more important than my ears and my logic, my inner clarity perked up. I knew this was true. I didn't have to know this was true. I didn't have to read a scientific journal article. I didn't have to check 5 different sources. And the beauty of bipolar disorder is that we are all or nothing. So I jumped in February 24th of 2019 and I went all the way from pizza, Doritos, ramen noodles, beer, wine in the box, donuts, snack cakes, all the things. I was a junk food junkie to ribeyes, chicken wings, pork butt, sausage, bacon, anything that was fatty animal meat. And for some reason, I did not include cheese and I did not include eggs. I just made it as basic of an experiment as I could. And then I started weeding through And I realized that I actually feel best on beef and beef fat. So it's about 10 months, 8 months in, I went full lion diet. So I was pretty much lion diet for like 6 years, which is just beef, beef fat, and salt. And the craziest part was that I resolved my bipolar disorder symptoms to the point that my psychiatrist, who I've been working with for 8 years, he was like, I can see light in your eyes and you're talking about the future. I went back to work full time, which
Wow.
another ironic part of my story is that I have my master's in clinical counseling. And so I was practicing as a therapist until it became unethical. So at 40, I stopped working, moved in with my mom. Anyway, went back to work June of 2019. And he was like, I think you're ready to taper off your meds. And I was like, no. I was like, that's my security blanket. Can't we just enjoy stability? But eventually I started tapering off. My last psych med was the end of 2019. And it's been miraculous. And what I did not expect was May 9th of 2019 was my last symptom of multiple sclerosis. So I resolved bipolar disorder, multiple sclerosis, and by the end of 2019, I had lost 120 pounds
In 1 year.
in 1 year.
In less than 1 year.
Yeah. So I went back to work, like I said, as a therapist, and I was like, yay, I can show my clients this. And I quickly realized in private practice, the insurance panels and the licensing board do not want me talking to my clients about food because I'm not a registered dietitian and I'm not a certified nutritionist. So I said, forget the letters behind my name, call me a coach. And instead of my license being only in Missouri, I let go of my license and now I coach people all over the world with severe mental illnesses. That's what I've been doing for 6 years. I love it.
That's beautiful. Okay, so for the women who've never heard of you, they apparently now, if they're listening to you, they know that a lot of the things that we've been told and we've believed since we were born are not necessarily permanent illnesses, and that food has a huge role in the way that your body works and how it can heal itself when given the proper tools. Wow. I mean, you went from bipolar, depression, MS, and a relationship with food that wasn't ideal to losing 120 pounds and losing bipolar and MS. And you didn't mention, but I'm assuming that your depression subsided after you were able to go off of your medication. Now, we don't recommend anybody go off medication unless they're
No.
talking to their doctor and their doctor suggests it. So this is amazing that your provider said, I think we need to start weaning you off. And you were like, no, I don't do that. Because
And
that must have been scary.
I stayed with him for 2 years after he prescribed my last psych med because I told him, I said, "Doctor, you know my crazy. You've seen my patterns and you'll see it coming." So we went from once a month to once every 3 months to finally after 2 years, I was like, all right, doc, I got your number. If I go crazy again, I'll reach out. And he was like, you've got this, Emily. So, it was really incredible.
So that's interesting to me that people don't realize how connected eating junk food is with all kinds of mental unclarity, right? I mean, people don't want to be told that their food is causing their symptoms.
Because they use
But
it as comfort.
yeah, because it's made to be addictive and to be something honestly that controls us. I mean, it's about marketing and it's about sales. It's not about our health. And it's just crazy to me that there's 60 to 80,000 things in the store that are non-food items or fake food that are being sold as food. It's crazy. Yeah. So this is amazing. And, when you were going through that season, what were you actually eating back then most of the time? And did that way of eating keep you feeling stuck or out of control?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to eat like every 2 to 4 hours. I even slept with a container of icing and a big spoon on my nightstand.
Wow.
Or it was like a sweetened nut butter, so that if I woke up in the middle of the night, that I could eat a couple of tablespoons and I didn't have to walk into the kitchen, and then I could go back to sleep. Like, I guess they would call hangry. Like, if I didn't eat every 4 hours and get that fix, that dopamine fix of that sugar to my brain, I was miserable. I always had snacks in my purse and everything. Now my snacks are just a little bit different. I don't even think I have one. I've got the box. I haven't opened it. There it is. Oh, the carnivore bar. That's my snack now.
That's the best kind of snack. That's very filling and very fatty. Amazing.
Yes.
So, when did you realize that the usual approaches weren't working? And what specifically made you choose meat focused or carnivore instead of trying another typical diet or something that a doctor would give you?
Yeah, I had no clue that my food had anything to do with my mental illness. None. Until I read that first chapter of Amber O'Hearn's book, and she resolved it with fatty animal meat. She focused on the fat. She calls it being a lipivore, where it's even more of a shift from just being a carnivore, you're a lipivore. And so you're focusing on the fat. And so I just listened to her story and I just hit repeat. One thing that was really shocking to me is I thought that I was just going to have to like white knuckle it forever, and that I was choosing sanity over crazy. And so I was just going to do whatever I had to do. But the gift was whenever I hit about 35 days and all of a sudden my food noise went away and I was
Yes.
satiated and I would just randomly skip a meal and I wasn't hungry and I wasn't craving sugar and processed foods. And then I was like, I've arrived. Like, this is amazing. That I don't even have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. So, isn't it amazing? Like for me, it was day 18. It took me literally 18 days to stand up straight and have the energy to like hold my head up because that first 18 ish days were like a transition of fuel and my body was detoxing, probably a healing crisis. Like all the things were happening simultaneously. And I decided to go all in because I was having all the reactions to everything I ate. So, it just made sense to me. I'm already this sick. I'll just go ahead and jump in and do the real thing. Now, did you do a lot of research? Did you like try to find people besides Amber to do this, or did you just jump in with what? Did you get the rest of her book? I mean, like, how did you figure this out?
No, I didn't even get the rest of her book. I've reached out to her. I've been in contact with her though, and I've thanked her a million times for saving my life.
Uh-huh.
And I also credit Michaela Peterson for saving my life because of the autoimmune disease with the multiple sclerosis. She was like my 4-minute mile for that. And it was way back in 2019, I joined her Lion Diet Club. So I was in contact with Michaela, and that kept me going with the multiple sclerosis because my doctors, they were bullies. My neurologists, oh my gosh, like they were like, you need to inject yourself with this medicine every other day, or you're being risky and you're going to end up in a wheelchair in 10 years. And I'm like messaging Michaela and I'm like, am I being risky? She's like, sister, you have no symptoms of multiple sclerosis. Like, you're good. Maybe when you have symptoms, you'll look into the medication.
Yeah.
I never even took the MS medication.
Oh, that's so good. So, how long did you know that you had MS before you started the carnivore way of eating?
So, this is the craziest part of my story. I started February 24th, 2019 for mental illness. I had symptoms of multiple sclerosis for 10 years. I didn't know it was MS. until March 12th. So February 24th, I started this all meat diet. March 12th, I was hospitalized, not in a psych ward. I was hospitalized in the ER. And then they took me to the regular because I couldn't swallow. And so a logical person would say, I started this all meat diet and now this is happening. But it was that knowing, it was that inner clarity. And I saw it as a gift because they
Yes.
did an MRI and they found the lesions on my brain. And that is one thing I did study. I started studying multiple sclerosis and I realized the deteriorated myelin sheath on my
Yes.
nerves is made out of fat. So I'm like,
Duh.
I'm going to keep eating fat. And then, of course, Michaela's story helped me. And my MRI from March to April, my lesions reduced by 50%.
Oh, that's amazing.
21, my MRI showed no new MS activity. I still haven't had a symptom. I could still do CrossFit today. You saw me at Hack Your Health. I was running around like you would never have guessed that I have multiple sclerosis.
That's interesting. So, would some doctors say you were misdiagnosed? Or that's impossible because they had the lesions, they have the record,
Yeah, no, I have it. My MRI, I just had an MRI this year and it still says that I have multiple sclerosis.
but they couldn't find any lesions.
No, they found other lesions this time, but I still have no symptoms.
That's
So,
amazing.
you can label me all you want. You can say whatever you want to say, but as long as I don't have symptoms, like I don't care. I'm not going to take the medication and I'm still going to keep eating fatty animal meat.
Yes. Nutrient dense food. That's
Mhm.
what we need. So, did you have a hard time transitioning? Like when you went through it, did you just like sail through or did you have like problems? And if you did, what were the biggest physical or emotional challenges that you might have had to push through?
Kind of like your story, it was just like a new pile of horrible. So, it wasn't anything I hadn't experienced already, but it was torture. It was the keto flu. It was body aches. It was lethargic. It was sleeping 13 hours a day. It was nausea. It was headaches. It was just weird itchiness. The keto rash that was like months that I had the keto rash. Keto breath, I had horrible breath. This was after I went back to be a therapist. I was a child therapist, and I was working with this little girl, and I'm, like, showing her this little puzzle, this little game we're doing, and she's like, "Miss Emily?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Your breath smells like death." "Okay, thank you, sweetheart."
Thanks for being
Because, of
so
course,
honest.
I'm not gonna eat a mint or gum, like, I'm not gonna introduce sweet taste to my so I just that thankfully, that only lasted a month. And then, what else? Oh my gosh, the poop thing. I mean, it was all over the place. It was either like sticky,
Yeah.
or it was like a waterfall, like diarrhea.
Yeah.
And I remember about 7 months in, I called my brother and I'm like, "Ben." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I just had the best poop of my life." And he was like, "Why are you calling me? Like, what is this?" And I'm like, "No, like, I had a good poop." So it took a while for my body to really regulate. And then, of course, I didn't really notice a difference with the depression and everything because that was my whole first 40 years of life. But what I did notice was when I had a glimpse of hope. It was 10 minutes. And I was driving in the car, and all of a sudden, I started thinking about what I was going to do that day. Instead of, like, just trying to survive each moment, I was like, "I think when I'll get home, I'll do this, this, and this." And I was like, "What is
What
that?"
is
And it
that?
was joy.
Yeah.
I hadn't experienced joy, and the next day it was 15 minutes, and the next day it
Oh,
was 20, until now, I can't have a bad day. Like,
oh,
I
that's
could have a flat
beautiful.
tire, I could have a fight with my husband, I could have my best friend lie to me, come what may. You cannot rock me and my happiness. I mean, I'm still human, I still feel things, but nothing like 2019.
Yeah, that was the year for me too. That's when I started dealing with a lot of things in my life that I had let slide. So I get that. And the whole poop thing, let's just go there for a minute. For me, I had to take Lipo Gold and betaine HCl in order to have some normalcy. Because for me, I'd be out in the yard and nature would call in and be like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it. And I if that would be the quitting part for me, I was like it was a nuisance and it was bothersome, but I'm off of those things now, so I don't have to take them anymore. I took them for 2 years, actually 2 almost 2.5 years, because my body just didn't know how to handle that, and that's always a good thing that you can, like, support your digestion with is something that will because some people take ox bile, but I didn't find that that was helpful, that made things worse.
That's
But
what I
yeah.
start.
Yeah. So, what made you cross the line from healing yourself to wanting to coach other people? And how did that grow into the inner clarity system that you have today?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always been the counselor. Like, I've always been the person in the friend group that everybody comes to. Like, I just came out of the womb being that person.
Yeah.
And I also realized that one of the benefits of me being so in the trenches with mental illness, it actually became my superpower because I didn't sit there as a therapist and was like, "So how does that make you feel?" I was like, "Girl, I know. This was my experience." And so I always related with my clients on like a peer level instead of like a superiority level because I had therapists talk down to me and I know that it's going in one ear and out the other.
Exactly.
Sheila, you don't know what I'm going through. So for me, it was very important to equip other people with mental illness to let them know because nobody was talking about it. We didn't have Dr. Chris Palmer yet. We didn't have the book Brain Energy. We didn't have, so many other like Georgia Eads and the people that are talking about this now. So I thankfully never came from ego. That was never the reason I got my master's degree. And so I just didn't really care about my license. And I just said, let me start with the people. And so I started doing it for free while I was still working. And I would help people in like New Zealand and Australia and all over the world. I'd be up, just into the evening, just coaching them. And then they started getting results. And that was when I got hooked because as a therapist, it was like Groundhog Day. Like, people come in and they have this problem and they unpack the problem. And then you get to the end of the 45 minutes and you're like, okay, pack it all back up. I'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye. We'll do this again next week.
And then it was the same conversation the next week. So I went to one of my colleagues and I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, they're not getting better and they keep coming back. And she was like, that's just what we do. We just hold space for them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
is not okay with me. So I wanted results. So now I have clients with schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, depression, OCD. They get better and then they don't need me. And I'm like,
Isn't that insane? They don't need you. They get to go on with their life and they don't have to stay in something that's not helping them.
yeah, because they can't unsee what they do in their own experiment. And they learn from themselves, from their inner clarity, from
That is
their
so
inner
beautiful.
knowing. Not, I listen to Emily or I listen to this YouTuber or I listen to this doctor. No, you listened to yourself. We all have that GPS system that is showing us the way to navigate this.
Yeah. So, for a new client who joins your inner clarity system, what does the first phase actually look like in terms of like food changes, nervous system work, breathing patterns, breaking the patterns with sugar and processed food?
Yeah. So my initial call, I've probably had might be thousands at this point, 6 years. I don't know. I don't look at numbers. I've had tons of people that have just needed one call with me because they just need the information, and
Yeah.
they just need someone to kinda tweak it for them. And so
Wow.
that's what I do. In the initial session, it's an hour long, it's $111, and I, like, pull up my sleeves, take the gloves off, and I go all in and tell them what they need to do. And if they have the inner capacity to be able to do that on their own, they go do it. I've gotten emails, like, a year later, and they're
Wow.
like, "Emily, like, you changed my life. Like, this happened, this happened, this happened." I get calls all the time where people are like, "It just that one call with you worked." Or I've had people who tell me that they just watched one of my videos, and
Wow.
I'm just talking about, mental illness and stepping away from pizza and Doritos. That's all I'm talking about. Like, this isn't rocket science. This is eat fatty animal meat. My specialty is people with severe mental illness. So I really like helping people right out of the psych ward from suicide attempts, right out of the jail.
Wow.
I have family members, they'll hire me to work with people coming from, like, drug addiction or alcoholism, or, like, severe mental illness where they're having a lot of suicide attempts and psych ward stays because I can speak crazy. And so it's so funny. I had this one girl, she was like in her early 20s, and her parents hired me right out after she got out of the psych ward. And she was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "Oh, it's like, do you know about my story?" And she was like, "No, I've never heard of you. My parents said I had to talk to you." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, let me just tell you my experience." And so I told her, and by like 15 minutes in, she's like, "You're me. And that means I can be you." And I was like, "Yes." I'm like, "Yes, baby girl." I'm like, "You can absolutely be me." And so they hired me because I only have 2 packages. Either you work with me for 2 months or you have a year container with me. Because people with mental illness, if you just have them schedule at will, they're not going to. And then they won't get results. And so it's not like I need them to pay me the big bucks. It's I need them to invest in themselves, and I need them to buy in to their success, basically. And then that's what I found. People work with me for 2 months to a year, and it's just amazing the way that everything reverses. Because when I was a therapist, borderline personality disorder were the people that never got better. They never
Yeah.
got better. It didn't matter medication, it didn't matter CBT, it didn't matter DBT, it didn't matter what you did. Those people never got better, and I've had multiple clients with borderline personality to get better.
And
But
it's all about diet.
as soon as they go back to mac and cheese, borderline's right back.
Yeah. So it's like it's an allergy to non-food items that is creating the mental health problem.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
It's
Okay.
inflammation in their brain.
Yeah. Okay. So this is insane and it's beautiful. And I'm so glad you're here talking about it. Now, for the women who are dealing with, like, I just want to get your take on this symptoms like unexplained weight gain, not being able to think clearly and having like mental brain fog and being so severely fatigued. And they are on this diet and they are believing the diet's going to fix the problem. It's supposed to fix everything, right? And they're chasing diets or chasing symptoms. What would you suggest for them instead that could help them get to the root cause instead of dealing with constantly chasing the symptoms?
Yeah, that was a huge thing that I noticed right away is that people were beating themselves up, especially women, and they were constantly telling their stomach that it was too fat. They were telling their thighs that they were too jiggly and they had too many dents in them. And guess what? You cannot hide from your body. Your body hears your thoughts. Your body hears everything. And so, one of the things that I teach in Inner Clarity System is to love your body and to thank your body. It is a miracle, Christina, that
Yes.
I was alive until I was 46 or 40 years old, until I came to this intervention. A miracle that I was alive. And so I started thanking my organs. I started thinking my stomach that actually gave birth to a child. I started thinking my brain that got me through my graduate school. I started thanking my heart for enduring heartbreak from multiple areas, family, friends, relationships. I started thanking my cells for their ability to regenerate. I started thanking my spirit for keeping me going to keep me from committing suicide. And it shifted everything. So instead of pointing out what my body was not doing, I started thanking my body for what it has already done. I'm like, sister, you won the gold. You've already done it. You don't have to earn anything else. You've achieved success. And then I saw success continue because what you focus on grows.
My gosh, so powerful that you said that. So, I have a friend right now who is dealing with health issues and she's dealing with anxiety and heart rate spikes and stuff. And she is very focused on the heart rate spikes and checking them and trying to keep up with all those numbers. And also just quickly, like assessing herself to see if she's anxious. And she really can't leave the house. She is really going through it. And like, what would you say to someone like that who is telling themselves, and just repeating things? And then also, like, what about the women who are saying, I'm fat, I can't lose this weight, and they're punishing their bodies versus them seeing their body as a blessing and then giving themselves, like you said, they're almost like future pacing what it is that they want by saying it and thanking the body and appreciating the body and loving the body instead of trying to change it, and they're not focused on the food being the main. They're focused on the food being controlled by them so that they can tell their body what to do when their body's really intelligent and it knows what to do with calories. It knows how to function and how to take care of them. What would you say about that?
So, two things. To your first question, I would say meditation is everything. I don't care if you're Christian. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're agnostic. I don't care if you're an atheist. I don't care what you are. Just be still and connect with that inner clarity, that inner child, that inner knowing. And it takes a while. It takes a while to really get through that, especially when your thoughts are like all over the place. And there's tons of ways to get into that meditative state. You can crochet. You can do color by numbers. You can do, have you heard of EFT tapping?
Yes.
You can do tapping. All you got to do is go on YouTube and there's tons of videos.
Yeah.
There are so many different ways for you to get into the silence, get into your body. And so, if you are obsessing about the numbers and you're obsessing about what your body is not doing, I would say get still.
Yeah.
Get very, very still and to connect with that. And it's almost like an acquired taste, not acquired taste, but it's like you learn the language. This is what quiet feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what stillness, this is what rest is. This is what stability. Some people don't know what rest is. They're just 90 to nothing, analyzing everything. So meditation would be for the first question. The second question is experiment. And
Yeah.
this is my favorite thing. This is the entire crux of inner clarity system. So your listeners don't even have to pay $111 to come talk to me. Here's what it is. In a diet, we judge and we punish. I ate an entire sleeve of Oreos. I'm going to fast for 24 hours. Or this was my macros that day. And this is how many calories I had. And this is my weight. And this is my body percentage. And this is this. And you go into all of the data and you judge, and then you punish. And so you're creating this really unhealthy relationship with the process. But in an experiment, what does a scientist do? A scientist observes and documents.
Ugh.
So if you set this 45-day experiment and you said, all right, this is what my plan is, this is what I want to eat for 45 days. and then you randomly eat a sleeve of Oreos, all you do is observe and document. The subject ate a sleeve of Oreos and feels like crap now. And now her brain fog is back. And now she's whatever other symptom it is. And you don't punish because it's not a failed experiment.
It's data.
It's data. And so it completely switches into two different sides of the brain whenever you're doing a diet versus doing an experiment. And then you get to work with your body. And so that's what I would say to the people in that second question that you said is do a 45-day experiment. And then at the end of that 45 days, you get to shift the experiment. If you're like, you know what, I think I really want to cut out cheese, then do another 45-day experiment. And then you get to play with the variables and then you get to really know what your data is instead of beating yourself up and telling yourself that you're unworthy.
But don't you find like that when they repeat something to themselves and they don't even ask if it's true or not, but they just keep repeating it like, oh my gosh, this is happening to me. I'm afraid this is going to keep happening to me. I just want to be, like whatever I was before this happened to me. And I find that they're stuck in the loop and it's not helpful to their nervous system, but it's also keeping them stuck because their brain's like, yeah, you need to stay safe. We don't want to do anything that's going to be dangerous. So I think that you need to stay anxious and you need to worry about everything because it's going to keep you safe.
Yeah, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the power of life and death is in the tongue. And the tongue starts in the thoughts. So
It
your
does.
tongue is not going to say anything that you didn't think first. And
So
so
true.
that's the precursor. And if you can stop those thoughts ahead of time, and all you got to do it's the coolest thing whenever we realize that those anxious thoughts are a lie.
Hmm.
All you got to do is say the opposite. If you're like, I'm broken and I'm falling apart, you got to just say the opposite. I'm divinely made and I am healing.
It's
Try that.
true.
Try
Yeah.
that on for size and see
Yeah.
what happens and do an experiment. Okay, any lie that comes in my head, I'm going to flip it and for 45 days I'm going to see whatever Emily's talking about, whatever Christina's talking about. Test me on it. Come tell me I'm a liar. Come tell me.
Yeah. Exactly. I also think that our brain automates everything that we keep repeating. So if we just keep telling it that it's, this is what's happening, we're just reinforcing it. And I like to tell people when I'm out, if I hear them say, I'm so dumb, I shouldn't say that. And I'm like, no, what could you say instead? And they're like, oh, I don't mean it. Well, don't say it if you don't mean it because your brain will listen to you.
Absolutely.
So good. Okay. So tell me about your recent experience with red meat and a tick.
Oh my gosh. This is so funny because I have had so many people in the carnivore community either come up to me at Hack Your Health or they message me personally and they're like, that's my biggest fear. And I'm like, no, 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 no. When you fear something, all you're doing is attracting it to you. And so I've been very vocal about my experience with this. I got bit by a tick. Well, I live in Southeast Missouri. So I get bit by ticks my whole life. I mean, from childhood. So it's possible that who knows when I got bit, but I know I got bit in 2021 and I know I got bit this summer. But I've had symptoms for 2 years and I didn't know what it was. And of course, I don't believe in the medical system. And so I never went to the doctor about it, but every 3 weeks, that's more often than a period.
Yeah.
Every 3 weeks for over 2 years, I have headache, nausea, vomiting, and fever for 3 days.
Wow.
It's like having the flu every month. Like,
Yeah.
like when you have the flu and it like knocks the
Yeah.
air out of you and and it
Fatigue. Yeah.
takes weeks to recover. So as soon as I recover, I get another episode. And it's just been this crazy mystery symptom or sickness. And then finally it exacerbated. Is it okay if I just show my picture?
Yeah. Please.
It exacerbated in September. and this is what my lips normally look like, and they, like, blew up 5 times the size. Here's a better picture of that. Like,
Yeah.
you can see my lips. They don't look like that. It looks like I had Botox or, like, that botched plastic surgery or something.
Yeah.
So, thankfully, I went to the ER. They didn't help me very much. Then I had another outbreak or whatever and went to my regular doctor, and she goes, "What did you eat yesterday?" And I was like, "Ground beef." And she goes, "What'd you eat the day before that?" And I was like, "Ground
Ground beef.
beef." And she goes, "I'm gonna run a test for alpha gal syndrome." I rolled my eyes. I was like, "Whatever." I
Yeah.
didn't think in a million years that I was gonna get this. I got my results back and I have alpha gal syndrome. Thankfully, I am on the lower end of the spectrum.
Oh, God.
I have been talking to people who literally their life is at risk.
Yeah,
Like
it
they
closes
go
their
in
windpipe.
I did go into anaphylaxis, but not to the point where I passed out or anything. I was able to get to the ER. I was able to get to the doctor, able to get on antihistamines. I have an EpiPen now in case I do have a reaction again. And so I'm sitting here going, all right, I was lion diet for 6 years. And that's how I remain stable with my mental illness and my multiple sclerosis. What do you mean I'm allergic to all mammalian meat? Like, I can't even eat pork. I can't eat lamb. I can't eat deer. Like, I can't even eat rabbits.
So what do
Like,
you eat?
what do I eat? I know. And I'm not going back to like Domino's and, Doritos. So funny. This one thing I got to tell you. I was on an alpha gal syndrome Facebook group and they were so excited because they were like, "You guys, we can eat the blue bag of Doritos."
Ew.
And I'm like, "That is not the answer. That is not the answer." And they're like, "And you can eat this brand of ramen noodles." And
You left that group, right?
I left that group, yeah, because I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
they're not ready to hear what I have to say." So I just say stuff on my YouTube channel and they can find me if they want. But what I eat is eggs mainly. I react to grocery store chicken. My ankles swell up and my toes become sausages because God knows what's in Walmart's chicken
Yeah.
and Aldi's chicken, even the organic chicken I react to. So I have to go to the farm and get farm fresh pasture raised chicken. I have not gotten to get a really, really good source, but I'm okay now. Like I can
So
have it like,
you can eat it and not get sick.
yeah. And then wild caught salmon and duck fat.
Duck fat is the bomb.
Yes. So I'm good with those things. And then this is a really rare thing, but I was in Tampa, Florida for Hack Your Health, and I found a grocery store called Wild Fork, and they had ostrich. And I was able to have ostrich steaks, and they taste just like steak. It was the
Really?
first time. It was the first time in 30 days that I felt full. It
Oh my
was
gosh, yeah, because chicken's not, yeah, as
and
filling as
eggs.
beef.
You don't
Yeah.
ever feel, like, satiated
I
on
eat
eggs.
eggs and it's like, "Did I finish this?" Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
No.
so that's what I'm on right now, and, I have been, of course, doing my research because 'cause I'm like, "Some people have this for 7 years, 15 years." I'm like, "No, no. I
Yeah,
resolved
exactly.
multiple sclerosis, I resolved bipolar disorder, I'm gonna resolve alpha-gal." So, I am doing 2 different acupuncture treatments. My first appointment is this Friday. If anybody wants to research it, it's called SAAT. That's all you gotta do is just Google SAAT and you'll find a practitioner in your area. But you got to make sure they're legit. And then my other one is only in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and her name is Ginger Spencer. So if you just put Tulsa, Oklahoma, Ginger Spencer, and hers is electro needling. So she puts the acupuncture needles in the ear and then she attaches electrodes to it. But she has trademarked her technique and she has about a 99% success rate with
Yeah,
alpha.
that's awesome. See, that's 2 natural ways that you can actually reverse it and get back to the red meat. Like locally here, I think it's about $400. You go, you get a needle in your ear, and
300,
you yeah.
300 for SAAT here and 185 for the electro needling.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like under $500, you can actually reverse it and get back to what you were doing before. And people just don't want to pay that money. They just are like, no, or they don't believe it's real. And they just have to deal with the alpha gal and the cross contamination and the getting sick. And it's awful.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
this has been horrible. I do not want, and brain fog. I've had
Yeah.
brain fog too. Like I'm not as sharp as I was in 2022, 2021.
Yeah, so once you get back on red meat, you'll be like on point again. It's funny because when you do that process, I had to get the needling and my son had to get the needling. He actually was super hyper allergic. And we had like several people at the church here that had gone and they were showing themselves eating bacon and I knew they were allergic to red meat and like, that kind of food. And they were showing how they were eating a tiny piece and they had to wait 3 days. And then they did another tiny piece because my son couldn't have milk, he couldn't have any byproduct of beef at all, and, he would know when it was happening, and he was a teenager, so he wasn't paying attention to what he was eating, but he would get, like, hives would come up behind his ears, and that was the first sign he had to get Zyrtec and some other stuff in his system, and Benadryl immediately, and then he had to jump in the cold shower in order to force it to calm down, and he would get so sick, and we took him it took 4 hours to drive up and get the needling done, and then we followed all the rules, and 3 weeks later, he was good. It was over. Yep. So,
Yeah,
the alpha gal may be man-made, but, we have solutions. You just have to look for them.
absolutely. And what I think is so important is that we know that we cannot lead with fear.
That's right.
Fear is never the answer. Never. If you lead with hope, your brain unlocks a whole different compartment to find solutions. If
It
I sit
does.
here and I fear, it's like I'm locking down and I'm like, we're going to fear this. We're going to have this for 15 years. You're going to eat eggs only for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like, no, thankfully, I've been able to sustain and I haven't had mental illness come back or multiple sclerosis with just eating eggs. But I gave in to hope instead of giving into fear. And then I was able to unlock all these solutions. And one other one, if anybody doesn't want to do the acupuncture, I started working with a girl. Her name's Whole Body Healing with Jen, and she is called the histamine queen. And started working with one of her practitioners, and we work on regulating my central nervous system through the EFT, the tapping, and multiple other things. And that has been a game changer. So if you're not wanting to do acupuncture, go find Whole Body Healing with Jen. I think she's the best in the country, to be honest.
Okay. So, how did you and Chef James Barry get connected? Because I met him. He was one of the first people I met the very first day I got there. And he said to me, you have to come to the table. You have to meet Jen. You have to meet Emily
Emily.
because, yeah, you have to meet her because, and you started saying all these things and it just was so much. And I just had him on the podcast. So I'm like so excited to know how you guys met because he's just the nicest person.
He is amazing, absolutely amazing. Well, and this sounds arrogant, but I attract just really awesome people
That's beautiful.
because I'm really awesome. Like, and I don't say that in an arrogant way, but I say that as a reflection of you, Christina.
Aw,
Like anybody who's in my field, even my clients, like I love my clients. Like, they're some of the coolest people. I have learned so many amazing things from them, and it's like I have this, like, field that I'm sending out this signal, and I just attract these really awesome people. And so James is obviously a really incredible person. We met, and this is so funny. I don't know if I think I did say this story in our interview when I interviewed him, but we met at Meatstock and of 2025. And so I had been to Meatstock 24. And for anybody that doesn't know, Meatstock is just it's a convention. It's in the Smoky Mountains. We're having Meatstock 2026. All you got to do is go to meatstock.com and you'll find it. It's incredible. It's like all these, keto, carnivore, low carb people and they get together. So 2024, we had about 40 people. 2025, we had like 300 people. And my central nervous system was like not ready for that. So I did good the first day. And then the second day, the people that I was sitting with went to go get some food or go to a booth or whatever. And I looked into this crowd of 300 people and I just short circuited. And I was just like, and now I know it was the alpha gal, but I wasn't diagnosed yet.
Wow.
That my central nervous system was just not regulated.
Mhm.
And so the first thing I remembered was my friend Angela told me that James is good people. And that's all that I remembered. James is good people. And so I went and I found his booth, his pluck booth, where he is selling the organ meats and the seasoning. And I walked all the way around. I walked through the other booths and I sat down in the chair right next to him. And I said, I just need to be safe for just a minute. And he understood. And he didn't ask a question. And he was like, okay. And he changed the subject and he talked to me
He's
about
amazing.
anything and everything. It was like he was just like a therapist or something. Like he knew what to do in that moment and he grounded me. And so we're sitting there, we're talking, like he's making good eye contact, keeping me focused on him and distracted from the
From the
300
people.
people.
Yeah.
And then a customer came up to the table and he's still so locked in to eye contact, he didn't see the customer. I jump up and I could focus on one person. I was fine. And I was like, hey, I was like, where'd you guys fly in from or drive in from? And I started talking to them. And then I switched the conversation. I was like, do you get enough organ meat? This is what I use, blah, 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 blah. And I started telling him about Pluck. I sold like 5 or 6 orders. And he was like, "What was
Okay.
that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I've never sold anything in my life." And he goes, "But you believe in it. You believe in the product." And I was like, "I guess I do. I believe in you. You know, I know that you're good people." And so we just had that immediate like kinship,
Yes.
totally connected. And then about 2 months later, he called me and he was like, "Hey, I have an idea." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "I want to get off the road more in 2026. How do you feel about coming to Hack Your Health and me training you how to run the booth? And then you can run the booth for the events for next year, and I could stay home with my kids and my wife." And I was like, "Bet." I was like, "Let's do it." So that's why you saw me behind the booth at Hack Your Health.
It's amazing. I'm so glad I got to be part of that. What about, let me see. Let me think of where I want to go because we're about to wrap it up. Okay. So for the women who just started or who are just getting started or thinking about starting carnivore, what honest, practical advice would you give her to begin in a doable way where she could find what she wants and maybe if she's got some of the things that you specialize in, how would she maybe work with you and maybe get coaching and support?
Well, I can definitely tell you the people that don't need to contact me. If you're just trying to lose 10 pounds, do not contact me. I am not your girl. There are amazing coaches out there, just tons. Like, just Google carnivore coach. There's tons of stuff out there. I help the people who can't string together 3 good days. Like, I help the people who need intense help. What I use is a video messaging app. It's called Marco Polo.
There you go.
And so they can contact me 24/7. And it's literally like having a therapist in your pocket.
That's so
And
good.
my commitment is that I will respond within 24 to 48 hours, depending on the weekend. And so I go all in. And it is just very, very detailed. And the reason it's a video messaging app is because as a therapist, I can read micro expressions in their face. I can read voice tone and cadence, and I can read body language. And so that's what I do. And then I'm like, I can reflect back to them. And my favorite part about this technique is that when they're sitting there with their phone and they're talking to, who are they talking to? Themselves. Therapist reach out to me and she's like, "This is brilliant. You need to market this." And I'm like, "Okay." Like I just do it because what would have worked for me? It would not work for me to have one session for 45 minutes every week.
Yeah, and repeat, like, talk therapy, just pour it all out and then pick it back up and put it back in your pocket and leave.
And I don't work with people unless you're going to start removing Doritos and pizza and donuts from your food.
Yeah,
If you're not
grains.
willing to do that, do not work with me. Go find a therapist who's ready to go through Groundhog Day with you, because
Yeah,
I am
repeat
not your
that.
girl. So that's what it is working with me. Like I said, I do the $111 for the one-time thing. But here's the cool part. Another huge tip that I give to everybody in that initial clarity call is the 3 food list. And the 3 food list is honestly, I don't even know how I came up with it, but I love it. I think it was like an adaptation of something a client did, and then I just, like, ran with it. So think about a stoplight. You have red, yellow, and green. And so they have a red list, they have a yellow list, and they have a green list. Most diets just have a red list and a green list. And you are either successful or you're failing.
Yes.
But with this, you have a yellow list, and the yellow list is for foods when you have a flat tire, when you're running late and you have to get something on the go conveniently, when you're having your period, whenever you're ovulating, whenever you're having an argument with your husband, whenever your kids are not listening, just those days where you just want to like scream and you want to eat emotionally, you eat on that yellow list. That is our safety net list. And the whole purpose of the yellow list is to not go to the red list. And so on green list, these are foods that you could eat all day, every day. And I allow my clients to create their own lists. So if there's somebody out here that's like, I can't be carnivore, I can't be keto, I can't be whatever. Great. Don't give me your green list or your yellow list. Tell me what your red list is. What do you know is not feed? What do you know in your inner clarity, your inner knowing that these are toxins for me?
Yeah.
And fill that list and then jump over to the green list and fill that list. And then on the yellow list, you have things like cheese, yogurt, what's that? Lily's chocolate chips or whatever. Like you wouldn't eat it all day, every day, but
Yeah.
it's there for you. It's better than going to go get a donut. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that's what I would tell anybody is to start with that green, yellow, red list. Start there, and then start speaking positively about start thanking your stretch marks and your rolls.
Thank
Love
them.
your roll.
Yes. Yes. So, one last thing, where can people find you?
So innerclaritysystem.com is the best way to find me. You can pretty much I know this sounds so obnoxious, but you can Google me, Emily Penton, and I will pop up in everything. There is no other Emily Penton. There's a photographer, but you know I'm not a photographer. So
Yeah. Okay, and
just
they can find
Google
you on
Emily.
Instagram or YouTube.
Yeah,
Inner
it's all
Clarity
there.
System.
And always send me a personal message or an email because I will respond.
Awesome. Well, this has been an incredible hour and 5 minutes. So I am so excited. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you at Meat Stock.
Yes, it's going to be so fun. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
it's going to be amazing.
I'll be
Okay.
at the Pluck booth.
The Pluck booth, y'all.
Thank you.